Hey everybody! In this video, we are now comparing the different digestive systems between different animals. And remember, there are three categories of animals based on the type of foods that they eat. There's carnivores, which eat meat only. There are omnivores, which eat both meat and plants. And there are herbivores, which can only eat plants, and they get all the nutrients they need from plants. Alright, and what scientists have actually discovered is that these three different types of animals, they've got really different digestive systems because the foods are so different and the needs of their digestive system are different. The reason for this is for two pretty simple reasons. Firstly, it's the fact that meat is really easy to digest. And then on the other hand, plant material is really hard to digest for animals. Alright, so now let's look at the difference of all these animals' digestive systems, thinking about the foods that they're eating. Carnivores is the first one, and carnivores have the most simple digestive systems and the shortest digestive systems of all. So here's a dingo's digestive system in our diagram here. And if you look at the small intestine, it's the shortest one of all. The shortest small intestine. And again, that's because carnivores are eating meat, and so meat is really easy to break down in the stomach and the small intestine by using the two types of digestion, chemical and physical digestion. And then that means it's easy and quick to be absorbed in the small intestine into the body. So carnivores have it easy. They can digest and absorb their food with a pretty short small intestine. Then we'll look at omnivores next. And here's a human digestive system as an example. So if we look at our digestive system, we've got about a medium size or a medium length small intestine. And that's because we can eat meat, so we can easily digest that, but we also eat plant matter. And so we need that extra length here to do extra digestion to break apart that plant matter as much as we can so that we can absorb it in the small intestine as well. So we have a medium length one. And then in herbivores, they've got the longest small intestine. But it actually differs between two different groups of herbivores. So we're going to look at these two different groups, and you'll need to know the differences between them. So what we have in the first group, these are called Foregut Fermenters. And the other name for them is ruminants, if you've ever heard that. So Foregut Fermenters, they have a really expanded stomach, and you can see it here. So sheep and cows are ruminants, and lots of other farm animals are too. And they've got this expanded stomach, which you can see here in this one. It's got three chambers, it's divided into three sections. And this special expanded stomach is called the rumen. And inside the rumen is a whole lot of bacteria. So why this is important is because for a herbivore, they actually can't digest most of the plant material that they're eating. So if they eat grass, or if they eat leaves, or anything with wood in it, they actually can't digest it at all. And that's because of a special chemical that's called cellulose. So animals can't digest cellulose, which is a big problem because cellulose makes up a lot of a plant cell, because it makes up the cell wall of the plant cell, actually. So they can't digest the cellulose, but they need to get the energy out of it because otherwise they won't get much energy from their food. So what these animals have done is they have a whole lot of bacteria living in their digestive system that can break down the cellulose for them. So the bacteria do the digestion. And that process is called fermentation. So in these foregut fermenters, going back to these, they've got the rumen, which is their enlarged stomach, and that's where these special fermenting bacteria live. So that's why they're called foregut fermenters. The bacteria live at the start of their gut, at the fore of their gut. So they break down the cellulose, and then they have a really nice and long small intestine to try and break down as much of the rest of the nutrients as possible and absorb as much of it as they can. So they have the longest small intestine of all. They're the most efficient herbivores. But then there's another group of herbivores that aren't as efficient at digesting, and they're called hindgut fermenters. So hind just means at the back. So these animals, they have the fermentation bacteria living near the back of their gut. And they have this special organ here where the bacteria live. And this organ here is called the cecum. So they still have a stomach, they still have a small intestine, but then the food reaches the cecum, and then it starts to be digested by all the bacteria living in the cecum. So unfortunately, that means for these animals, they can't absorb any nutrients until food gets to the cecum. So they can only start absorbing most of the food here, which means the small intestine can't do any absorbing, and that's where food is normally absorbed. So that's why I said these animals have really inefficient digestive systems, and that means their droppings, if you ever see kangaroo or wombat droppings, they're really full of grass still because it hasn't been digested very much before it's come out of the digestive system. So they have grass and plant matter that's still undigested, and it comes out in their droppings. And actually, one behavior that some of these animals do is they actually come along and will eat their droppings again so that they can try and keep digesting that grass and that material. Kangaroos do it, wombats do it. It seems disgusting, but it's helping them to try and keep breaking down that food. Alright, so that's the differences between all these animals' digestive systems.